again. This time, uh, we got some exciting or at least interesting news to talk about and some other interesting things to do in this live stream. We'll give a few minutes for people to get logged on before we get too far into all of that, though. But what we are going to talk about today, especially if you're watching like the replay of this, we're going to cover some travel news stories. We're going to talk about surviving hot weather, specifically as an urban nomad, because there are some unique components to that versus doing it while you're surviving hot weather while you're boondocking. And also, we're going to do a live tour of the Gillette Historic Mining Equipment Park that we're at right now. Do you remember the name of this thing? Is it like Energy Mining Park
Energy
or
Equipment Park?
Energy Equipment Park? Well,
Yeah.
we'll turn you around and give you a quick tour, a quick preview here. There is a name out there, and I keep forgetting it. But anyway, so there's some cool, rather interesting historic mining equipment. I kind of like this windmill here, and we'll go on around the other side here. There's even a big locomotive and drilling rig. So we're going to walk you around here and show you what's to be seen here, because it's kind of interesting seeing some of this equipment close up, because you know it's big, but you don't really know how big until you stand next to some of this equipment or whatever. So there is a little graffiti, I warn you. There's nothing I can do about that. We'll try not to focus on it, but I'm sure you've all seen such things before anyway. So we're going to do a live tour of that in just a little bit. Hopefully the wind is not too much of a problem. We have a microphone on. The other mic that has the better windscreen actually gets in the way of the lens on this cam. So we're working on upgrading our microphones further, but hopefully that's all okay for this one. Meanwhile, if you're new, probably those of you who are logging on already know who I am, but I'm your host, Robert Witham. This is my much better half, Melanie. Everybody keeps asking who's Melanie. We introduced Melanie in a video a little bit back, so look for the van tour, right?
Van tour, yeah.
If you want the full introduction, go back to the van tour video. Meanwhile, I'm trying to talk Melanie into doing a video where we do interview her a bit more, and she shares more of her story. I've known Melanie for about 5 years, almost 5 years, something like that. So we've been crossing paths for quite a while. But then I talked to her to come up here for Wyoming. To Wyoming for the summer. So yeah, she's here. She's still getting used to the whole YouTube and social media lifestyle thing. Believe it or not everybody is like totally comfortable being on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and all the rest and sharing all kinds of crazy parts of their life. So we're still we're kind of trying to take it easy on her with that. But anyways, I'm Robert Witham. I'm a long-time lifestyle traveler, author, magazine publisher, photographer, all that kind of stuff. So
That's what he's
we have
thinking.
flies. I was hoping that was not obvious. We have a fly that we cannot get out of this car. Melanie's about ready to let us hang fly strips in the car because we can't get rid of this darn fly. Every time we put the windows down to shoo it out, it flies into the back and won't leave. So there we go. Anyway, in this video, this live stream today, we're talking about all things related to the traveling lifestyle. So fire away with your questions. But we're also, like I said, we're also talking about some specific things like being an urban nomad and some travel news stories. And did you know I'm on Patreon? You can join me there for as little as $1 a month for access to all kinds of behind-the-scenes photos, videos, stories, and more. So I post a lot of photos and a lot of things, like about who Melanie is, on Patreon before it makes it to the World Wide Web. And we also put photos and stuff on there that don't make it out here on YouTube, just because it's a little more of a tight-knit thing. So there's some things I can share there that I don't share with the entire world. So if you want to know more or you want to know earlier, that's the place to get it. Beth, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. Melanie says hello. I think I was talking over her
I just said hi. Yeah.
at the same time, so we're working on our coordinating there. Well, let's kick off with and it's hello to everyone. Thanks to everyone else who has joined too. In addition to Beth, go ahead and leave a comment if you want to introduce yourself. Let me know who you are, because all I see is numbers. I know people are on, but I don't know who is on unless you leave a comment in the chat and let me know. So, about some news stories, got some interesting stories you may have missed. I know I get, whenever I don't do news stories for a while, I get a lot of requests for it, and there was a lot of interest in the ones from last time, so we got some queued up again. Following up on our last live stream, we commented about a forecasted or anticipated or reported potential big increase in housing evictions and stuff, and what that might mean. We talked a little bit about what that might mean for those of us who are lifestyle travelers or nomads or snowbirds or however you define yourself. I'm not a big fan of labels because I think it's not usually helpful. It tends to come with assumptions and whatever, but that's why I kind of use the term lifestyle travel more than anything these days, because I think it describes what I do without hopefully pigeonholing me too much. But anyway, new article on the RV Travel website from September 3rd, and this fly will not leave. RVs becoming housing of last resort. Okay, whoop, it's going to go out. I don't think so. We try it again. Did we get it out? Man, I'm telling you. We need to get fly strips for the car. All right, RVs becoming housing of last resort. So the article opens up with a statement. The ongoing and deepening U.S. housing crisis continues to ripple through the RV and camping industry as more people are squeezed out of conventional housing and traditional notions of what it means to have conventional housing get upended. Okay, some of the highlights that are worth mentioning, I think, asking rents, that is what landlords are saying they want to charge for rent when they advertise properties, are rising rapidly, 23% higher in the second quarter compared to the same period in 2019, according to a recent Axios report, which works out to an 8% increase per year, which is a lot faster than most people's income is going up. So that's a problem, especially when you figure the rent is, for most people, the biggest single expense category. Local examples may be much higher, and I've heard from some of you who shared this exact thing, that rents in your area went up by a whole lot more than whatever numbers we throw around for national averages. So a few examples that were mentioned in this article on RV Travel. Manhattan in New York City, which of course is, I was going to say a world by itself, but it's a world with Boston and LA and San Francisco and Washington, D.C. and a few other big cities. But Manhattan, average monthly rent just passed $5,000 for the first time.
Average.
I'm mind blown.
Some people are actually paying more than that.
Yeah, so some people are paying more than that, if that's the average. Just crazy. Paul here in upstate New York, welcome. I got your card from you in Valley the other day. Thank you. I've been meaning to write to you, and I'll tell you that it arrived. So thanks for setting out. I do appreciate that. I will get an email out to you about that soon. Sandy Sue from Southwestern Illinois. We went through there. Well, we went through Illinois. I think we did go through Southwestern probably not too long ago on our trip out east, because we were trying to miss Chicago, so we were going lower and went through like Indianapolis, around Indianapolis and stuff. But unlike Indiana, Illinois was still open. Indiana was closed. So you have to go back and watch the live stream if you want. Last live stream if you want all those details. So Michael's saying it's called investment properties. Nice. Yeah, exactly. That's the deal. I will note, I've always personally, when I was in normal housing, I always rented from mom and pop landlords. I never did the whole corporate thing, and that does seem to be where a lot of the problem is, because they just, you read about these properties, and whether apartment buildings or mobile home parks or whatever, they're owned by somebody in a different state. They're only interested in the dollars. They're not concerned about any of the people that actually live there. There's no relationship. So, they don't really care that somebody in this apartment has lived here for 20 years and is retired, and they don't care. So that's the point. Yeah, but Manhattan average rent just passed $5,000 for the first time. December year-to-year increase. Another set of numbers here. The December to December year-to-year increase. Austin, Texas, 23%. Phoenix, 26%. West Palm Beach, Florida, 29%. Just mind-blowing. I can't even imagine. Anyways, they also note this: the housing stock supply is shrinking. This is partly due to the proliferation of second homes. That is, of course, people buying second homes, not that second homes are proliferating. And short-term rentals like through Airbnb. And that also does some overlap with second homes, where people buy vacation homes or second homes part of the year and then rent them out on Airbnb when they're not using them. And so that takes them out of the market for normal people to rent because they can be worth more money as short-term rentals. So anyway, this has led to an increase in people experiencing homelessness. How much is difficult to say with certainty because of the way those numbers are calculated. But news reports, it is possible that news reports may exaggerate things. So we shared, you remember the number I shared last time on the live stream? Was it
3.8.
3.8 million?
Yeah.
Okay, 3.8 million people may experience homelessness or may be at risk of eviction in the next couple of months based on some news reports. According to some news reports, based on user or renter surveys, which we noted then might be skewed because it's based on people's opinions rather than, that wasn't landlords saying these people are at risk of eviction. It was people saying they're concerned. So the number could have been higher or lower based on that. But then Melanie did a little research after that.
I did. So I was curious because it said 3.8 million, and I'm like, so what percentage of that is of the U.S. population? And that's about a little over 1%. So I was like, okay, 1%. And then I was wondering what it was normally, and I guess Princeton University does have something called an eviction lab, and they did note in their thing that is normally around 3.6 million that are evicted or at risk of being evicted. Actually, I think it is full eviction at that point. So 3.6 compared to 3.8 now. It is elevated a little bit, but you know, you gotta compare it to what it normally is. So it's,
yeah, so that was
more, but
fascinating.
it's
I did
not
not
the
consider
whole lot.
I did consider at the time the potential for discrepancies in the reporting and the numbers. I did not even think about what's the normal baseline.
Yeah.
And as soon as Melanie suggested, I'm like, well, duh. Obviously, there's a normal baseline because the baseline is not normally zero.
Yeah.
You keep seeing this stuff in the news and all these people, and I don't mean to in any way minimize
No, not
the
at
trauma
all.
to the extra 200,000
It's
people
horrible if it happens to you.
who
It's
potentially might be at risk of eviction
Right.
here. But the headlines are 3.8 million. No, I don't remember seeing anywhere in those stories about 3.6 million is kind of the
not
normal
normal. Yeah.
when you're not in some kind of housing crisis. So that makes it not quite as dramatic as it might sound.
It's not as dramatic. It's still a problem. It
It's still a
needs to
problem.
be something
And 3.6
done,
or
but
3.8 million is a lot
I
of
was
people.
curious, anyways.
So there you go. There's the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say. Now you know the rest of the story.
Got to dig a little deeper sometimes.
And my research assistant on the job here. Yeah, so I thought that was good context. I do think, though, these days, because van life and RV life and so on has got so much press, we talk about Instagram a lot and stuff, but it's also YouTube, it's also it's hit the mainstream news. Because it gets so much press, I think that probably a greater percentage of these 3.6 or 3.8 million people that are at any point in time facing eviction, probably a greater percentage of them are thinking about, might consider van life or RV life as an alternative if they get evicted.
Or even before
than in
they get
previous
there.
times. Then
Yeah, well, even before they
Even
get evicted,
before.
they'd be thinking
and
about it.
you know, I've been surprised just several times in the last couple of weeks. I've had conversations with people, family members and friends, that surprised me. People who I would not normally think of as, I'm not going to tell you who they were, but several people close to me who I would not normally think of as the nomadic types, who were telling me they're thinking about selling out and either temporarily or semi-permanently doing van life or RV life. I was surprised, and not people I would normally think that of. So I do think it becomes more awareness of it, so that more people might be thinking about it. So I do suspect that's there, but I do think that number Melanie had was really insightful
That's
too.
interesting.
One more little tidbit on this from the same article. Interestingly, and somewhat relatedly at least, Colorado was considering state legislation earlier this year concerning tiny houses, and that's probably a good thing if states get on board with tiny houses are a thing, and we really need to. That is an important part of addressing not only the homelessness problem by allowing people to live in more affordable housing, which would be smaller in many cases, if that's what they choose to do, but also it should be a freedom thing. If you want to live in a small house, that's nobody's business but yours, is my humble opinion. But they were considering state legislation about tiny houses, and in part, it would have codified a definition of quote-unquote RV residence. And the RVIA, the RV Industry Association of America, I believe, was something to that effect.
Yeah.
The big RV group, anyway.
RVIA.
They were vehemently opposed to the RV residence language, and so the bill did eventually pass in Colorado. I should probably go see exactly all the details of it did pass, but their opposition was that RVs are not designed to be permanent or full-time residences, and that was the objection of the RV Industry Association to the bill as it was. They weren't concerned about what Colorado wanted to do with tiny houses. They were concerned that they were trying to define RV residences, and they kind of freaked out about that, like they're not designed to be residences. So that's from the big trade group for RVs. Something to keep in mind considering living in an RV, full-time or temporarily or whatever, is that they're not designed to be lived in, and those of us who do it know that there are challenges that go with it. They're not designed to be lived in. By the way, links to this story and every other story I mentioned in the video description below if you want to check them out. I went back and added those earlier. Paul's saying Valley is out in Chicago right now visiting the granddaughter. Man, well, that's not why we went through the Midwest and down to the Northeast. Missing Chicago is to visit my youngest granddaughter, who's in upstate New York. So, and we caught some other family while we were out there as well. Let's see. Beth saying she got a farming friend as a welder, working 70-hour work weeks at Seacoast, New Hampshire, sleeping in her car because housing prices have not only gone through the roof, but the availability is 0.5%. Wow. That is insane. Yeah. And that's kind of a niche thing there, I suppose. I lived in and worked for a while in Sydney, Montana, which is right on the North Dakota border, and oil patch up there. I was not working in the oil industry. I was working in motel maintenance, but lots and lots of jobs, lots and lots of overtime, which was great. Housing was non-existent. So yeah, people doing lots of crazy things up there. So yeah, I guess it's good that we have these resources available to know how to do vehicle dwelling to make it easier. Because I did it back in the dark ages when we didn't have YouTube and Facebook or anything yet, and it was definitely a challenge. I talk about that in a video somewhere. I probably should share some of those insights again at some point. But all right, another news story here. This is actually 3 in 1. Multiple backcountry rescues in Colorado. 75, and they all happen in the same area. That made this interesting too. But a 75-year-old hiker was rescued by helicopter after falling during a stream crossing attempt on the Capitol Ditch Trail in Pitkin County. The sheriff's office was alerted about the injured hiker and advised that she was experiencing pain in her ribs and back, along with shortness of breath. Having been in the EMT, that would definitely concern you if you had a fall with those kind of symptoms, because you're thinking rib fractures or scapula fracture and possible lung damage. So yeah, you're going to get nervous and try and get them out of there quick. So the Care Flight helicopter was able to land near the injured hiker approximately 90 minutes after the sheriff's office first received the report and transported the hiker to a hospital in Grand Junction. So yeah, stream crossings, man, it makes me, I just read that story and it makes me think of all the stream crossings I've done on wet logs and wet rocks, and like how quick it can all go wrong.
Yeah, if you can't tell how fast it's going, and yeah,
then you get the moving water. Yeah, right, we've all done it, right, and
how cold.
Man, you just think. Yeah. Usually, you're worried at the time. You're worried about getting wet and getting cold, not about like really landing hard and maybe sustaining serious injury. All right. Also in Pitkin County, a mountain climber was tragically killed after falling 900 feet from below the summit of Capitol Peak. Capitol Peak is a 14,137 foot mountain located west of Aspen. It's considered one of the most difficult mountains in Colorado to climb because of rotting terrain and loose slopes, and that's, boy, I have not been on this peak. I've been on some mountains where the ground is loose and it's steep, and it's tricky. It's easy to get in trouble fast. So the sheriff's office was notified of the fall after a witness observed the woman attempting to grab onto a rock that gave way and led to her falling. A quote from the sheriff's office: "The Pickens County Sheriff's Office and Mountain Rescue Aspen would like to remind backcountry enthusiasts that the Elk Mountains are treacherous and that the loose, rotting terrain can lead to unstable conditions that can cause serious injuries or death." So I share that quote just because that's the local authorities describing some of the conditions there. And I have found myself on that kind of conditions, not on that mountain, but on those kind of conditions inadvertently while out hiking, exploring, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I should not be here. So unfortunately, tragically in this case, it was this woman fell quite a distance, ended up succumbing to injuries. And then another unprepared hiker who managed to end up off route while attempting to climb Capitol Peak one day after the fatal fall of the other hiker was successfully rescued. On the afternoon of September 4, the sheriff's office received a call from a climber on Capitol Peak who indicated they were in distress and quote-unquote cliffed out, which is a term that climbers use to describe the fact that they're stuck and they're on a cliff and they can't get up or down or sideways or anywhere else. They're stuck and unable to get themselves out of the situation in which they found themselves. So according to the article, the climber was found off route in physical distress, dehydrated, out of food, and also unequipped for the terrain in which he was found. So this was largely a preparedness issue, along with getting off route. A helicopter was used to rescue the climber from the mountain. So I've got links to all three of these stories again in the video description. My thoughts on these. First of all, condolences to the friends and family of the woman who was killed during the fall on Capitol Peak. You know, you just go out for a hike in the mountains, you might think about being some unpleasant experiences or unpleasant weather or whatever, or fatigue or whatever. You don't usually think about it being a life-risking endeavor. So, you know, certainly condolences to the friends and family there. Well wishes, of course, as well to those who were injured while hiking or climbing, because there were a couple of injuries there. My thought, just to know before you go, make sure you know what kind of terrain you're getting into and whether you might be getting into, where the routes are, how you're going to get out of there. Just, it's a good idea to be prepared. Don't overestimate your skills or expertise. It's just really, really easy to get in trouble out in the wilderness, whether you're in the mountains or in the desert or whatever. Rafting a river is just really easy to get in trouble and think you're better prepared than you are. And then these kind of things can happen fast. That being said, I want to emphasize there's no need to be worried just because you're in the wilderness, unless, of course, you're outside of your skill range. Then it might be worth being worried. But always be aware, I think, is the key. Just be aware of your situation, aware of your environment, aware of the weather, aware of what your skills and expertise is, and how that all fits together. And I think it's a good idea to be prepared always. And that includes carrying a go bag or day pack with essential communication and other emergency gear, including food and water. I did a video a while ago, I have a link in the description to it, about what's in my bag. And I always carry a day pack when I go hiking, any more than like a city park trail. I may not do it there. And if I'm going out in the wilderness, though, I'm carrying a bag that includes some essential emergency supplies and like a personal locator beacon. And of course, I'm carrying my cell phone as well in case I do have cell signal to call for help if I need help. But I try and carry enough basic emergency gear that I'm going to be able to take care of myself if something goes wrong. And then, of course, if I do have to use an emergency locator device, at least I have some emergency supplies to keep myself safe while I wait for help. Let's see here. My mother just popped on. Just found alive. Didn't get notification about it. That's I don't know this thing with YouTube. It's great when they notify people, but they don't always. And I scheduled this one ahead of time, hoping people would get notifications, but yeah, you never know. So, all right. One more news story. We might do a quick tour of this mining equipment park that we're at, because it looks like the wind settled down a little. So then we'll get back in the car before the wind picks up. All right. Vehicle rolls 500 feet from Colorado Mountain Road. My mother's going to appreciate this one that she just logged on because she gets queasy with steep mountain roads. So this past Sunday, I think a lot of this, if not all of this, I've talked about happened on Labor Day weekend. A vehicle rolled approximately 500 feet down a steep embankment at Point Sublime along Gold Camp Road. Point Sublime is a 7,021 foot elevation cliff that is right alongside a road. One person was reportedly ejected from the vehicle during the crash. The high angle rescue team from Colorado Springs Fire Department and paramedics were able to bring the injured person back up the mountain before the individual was airlifted to a hospital in critical condition. They've not yet disclosed or announced a cause of the crash, but it does highlight the importance, of course, of careful driving and attention while you're in the mountains. Because a lot of these mountains, I know for sure in Colorado and some others, Wyoming and stuff, where you're cruising along, there's no guardrails, there's no shoulder or very little shoulder. It only takes a second to end up in a bad situation. So does highlight that importance anyway. So again, link to that's in the description. Fortunately, the person was able to be rescued, but 500 feet's a long ways to be bouncing down in a car. I think we're gonna hop out and take a quick look around here at some of the stuff in the mining equipment park. It's kind of cool. Hopefully the wind's not too bad. Let us know in the comments if the wind is too much. We have a mic on with a windscreen. I have a better windscreen on order, and we are working on upgrading our audio to even better solutions too. It's just a process. I'm used to recording videos alone. Now I suddenly have a much better half. So I need to record two of us, get audio for two of us. We're gonna hop out. I'll flip the microphone around, which is gonna make a little bit of noise potentially. We'll show you around here, and then we'll hop back in the car and cover it. We'll talk about, let's see, what are we talking about? Surviving hot weather as an urban nomad. That's the other one. So, all right, we'll go take a look around here. Out to the heat. I did not mention, we can show you when we get back in. It is literally 100 degrees here today again, sitting at an even 100. And so we're gonna flip the mic around and we're gonna take a tour around here. Woo! All right, Melanie's gonna take over with holding the camera. So this is, I think they call it well, there's a pair of them. One's much bigger, like a drag link shovel or something like that. So I'll come stand and as you can see how big it truly is. It's monstrous. They use these in the open coal mines. If you're familiar with coal mines out east, you might think like Pennsylvania, they're underground. These are open pit here. So they excavate the coal and then they backfill it and put prairie grass back in when they're done. At least that's the plan. So, this thing is massive. So I cannot imagine the equipment, but you can kind of see the teeth on it here and everything. And they use this to scoop up large amounts of dirt, overburden they call it, dirt and coal, and then they do their processing with it. So it's massive. There's a technical term for it. I'm probably getting it wrong. Then there's these crazy tires here. I'll show you this. When we go around the other side in a minute, there's some information about it. This gives you an idea of the size of the thing. These things are so big. It's 60 ply. For those of you who are into tire stuff, I mean, if you get like 8 or 10 ply on your truck tire, your figure is pretty tough. These are 60 ply, as in 60. Just massive tires. So if we go on the other side, it's got some specs on the side, which is on the sign, which is kind of intriguing. So these are industrial tires. This particular one's made by Bridgestone. There are several companies made them. The weight of the tire, 8,500 pounds. Size, 40 to 0.57. I think that's 40 inches at some point. Maybe the internal. 1991 cost $13,000. I don't even want to think about what they cost these days. 12-foot height, width 4 feet. So this tire was used on unit rig trucks to haul soil and coal in local coal mines. Each tire can carry 137,500 pounds load. The tire is 60 bias ply off-road tubeless with extra tread. In 1991, it was the largest tire in the world. So pretty interesting. Just crazy how big they are. So moving along over here, this is a unique piece of equipment. I tried looking this up online after we were here before looking at this, and I can't find exactly what it is. This is made by, let's see, Fred E. Cooper Inc., and it was made in 1952. And so Fred Cooper, based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, they also had a branch in Houston, but they were making equipment for the oil and gas and mining industries in the 50s. This is an Alice Chalmers tractor that's got some kind of drum spools on it, front and rear. And so I can find some slightly similar things, but not the exact one. And so again, this is from 1952. It's a Fred E. Cooper Inc. contraption. And if I had Melanie come over here, I can show you some of the drums on this thing, which are really quite interesting. So it's like a winch thing. I don't know what they did with it, except for I'm guessing it was used in the coal mines because because everything else here is coal mine stuff. So pretty interesting. Anyways, I couldn't find anything exactly about it, but wait a minute. I think there's a sign over here I did not see before when we were here. Let's see if we can figure this helps us out. Oh, it does. I did not see this when we were here before. I literally took a picture and Googled it and searched for it. Okay, pulling unit, built by Ellis Chalmers. They got Chambers here, but it's Ellis Chalmers. ED40 engine. So there's the 50 feet height. That's got to be the, that's to be the when it's, must be when it's erected, I guess, huh? Pulling units are now called workover rigs. Instead of having a permanent derrick left over a well, a pulling unit has its own derrick and winch cables to pull a pump out of a well to perform maintenance. Well, that is interesting. Okay, that makes sense. So this is actually for oil equipment then, not for coal mining. So there we go. Now we know. I guess that explains what I could not find online. Interesting, over here we have a unit truck. This thing is, I think they call them haul trucks these days, but this was a little older one. And this is rather fascinating too. And I'll come stand by this thing so you get an idea just how big it is. And this is an actual truck that was used in a local coal mine. In this case, the Jacobs Ranch mine. Hopefully the wind's not too bad, guys. We do, like I said, we do have a mic on, but you know, it is a little breezy. So. This is a unit rig truck. Truck weight 235,000 pounds, 1,600 horsepower, 18 feet wide, 18 feet high rather, 23 feet wide, 65 feet long, load capacity of 170 tons. This was built back in 1978. It was assembled at the Jacobs Ranch mine to haul coal. Have you ever seen these getting trucked down the road on tractor trailers? They are in pieces because they can't even ship them down the road in one piece. This truck has logged 20,000 operating hours to haul 10 million tons of coal and consume 560,000 gallons of diesel fuel. The engine generates its own electricity to power 2 electric wheel motors. So pretty interesting. So the thing is just massive. You see the wheels and everything. I can actually walk under this truck. Come on in, Melanie. To give you an idea just how big this thing is, I'm walking around under the truck, and I mean, yeah, I'm nowhere close to even be able to reach it because it's so big. And these wheels are just massive. And you can see the hydraulics here and everything for the dump. I'm guessing this is a belly dump by the looks of it, or a side dump, I'm not sure, but this thing's just massive. And these are the massive diesel fuel tanks. There's one on each side. It's just monstrous. I don't know how big they are, but that's a lot of gallons. And if we come around the front here, I'll take you up top and show you. There's actually some stairs so we can get up into this thing. And then I think we'll hop back in the car because the wind's picking up a bit while we're here. All right, I'll take you up here real quick and show you around. Ooh, up the ladder. Give you an idea of the engines of this thing. Ooh, climb in here. So this is just, I mean, yeah, I can't even get it in frame to show you. It's so big. But check out this engine, huh? And again, apparently this thing uses this massive diesel engine to generate electricity, which it uses to run electric motors, kind of like an locomotive. So, oh, Curtis is on. He's saying hello, Melanie. So hello, Curtis. You'll probably appreciate this. Curtis is a former mechanic, so check out this engine. So on this big haul truck, anyway. So yeah, so it's quite the operation here. So we're gonna head back down ever so carefully, and it's getting breezy, so I think we'll hop back in the car and continue this outside of the wind because it's picking up. So, which is kind of a bummer because there's a few more things we could show you here otherwise, but you know, like that oil equipment over there and a big locomotive engine you can climb up on and get a peek in, and so kind of interesting anyway. Whew. All right, so we will see if I can see something here. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're flipped around again. Okay. I cannot see the screen well enough to read any comments right now, but I probably will catch up on comments too as soon as we get back in there in the car, which is just right there, so we're not far away. Oh, there is a cool windmill here too. Let me show you the cool windmill before we... There we go. This is an old windmill by Air Motor. Yeah, the Air Motor, A-E-R-M-O-T-O-R. So Air Motor Company from Chicago. And I did look this up. And, well, let me get back in the car so you can hear me. Then I'll tell you about it. Whew. Okay, we're out of the way. And my partner in crime get back in here so I can see something. We're out of the wind. All right, so yeah, this Air Motor windmill, I don't know when this particular one was made, but it was obviously a long time ago, and it's obviously seen better days too. But these things, the Air Motors, were made in Chicago originally, and they were more than 100 years now. I forget the exact date. 1880s, I think they started making them. So they've been around for a long, long time. And they were, at the time they started making them, apparently they were known as the mathematical windmill, because the engineer that designed them used a lot of precise calculations to make the metal blades, where they were using other, I believe, wood before that, but other blades anyways. These were very precise, and so they were known derisively by competitors as mathematical windmills. But they caught on, and they've been around for more than 100 years now. So it's and I just thought that was pretty cool to find a little history about that. So that's the story with that. So let me see what we got for comments here. We got our air conditioning going, thank goodness. It's warm. Okay, Curtis was saying hello. Oh, Richard's hello from Phoenix. All right, well, thank you. Look, welcome, guys. And whew, boy, so I hope you all enjoyed that little tour. We would have showed you more, but the wind was getting a little steep, so we had to cut it. Well, we got going to talk about surviving hot weather as an urban nomad, because I had a question about that, so that's why we're going to answer that question. I did want to mention too, one of the things that I've done a few product reviews, gear reviews, and sometimes you wonder how things actually work afterwards. Well, on our travels to New York and Massachusetts, we brought the Blue Eddy EB3A portable power station along with us, and it performed quite nicely. It was very convenient. If you want to know more about that, if you haven't seen the other reviews, I have a link in the description to a video I did, a review of that, and yes, it's still performing well. I've been using it a fair bit, and it still continues to work exactly as expected, so I'm very happy with that product. One more quick announcement. Back in the spring, I participated in a off-grid sustainable living bundle program where we're able to offer quite a value on a lot of ebooks and courses and other digital products related to off-grid and sustainable living and nomadic lifestyle and whatnot. And so we're going to be doing that again. That program's coming back, but this time they have more than 100 ebooks, programs, and guides, and it all works out to like a 99% discount. So that's coming soon. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, or you're interested in sustainable living, off-grid living, nomadic lifestyle, all that sort of stuff, this is a chance to get a whole lot of resources at a fantastic price. So that's coming up soon. So we'll be sharing more about that in the coming days. So let's see. Beth saying, my friend in North Dakota has a windmill like that on his folks' farm with wooden blades. Cool.
Oh, wow.
That's neat. I'd love to see one with wooden blades.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the ones I've been seeing around in our travels recently have been the metal blade ones. This one has a wooden base on it. A lot of them I see have metal bases, and apparently it's quite common. They're spec'd by like 8 foot or 10 foot or 12 foot, and the taller they are, the more expensive they are. That's about all I know about them. I've exhausted my expertise now. All right, so I had a question from a viewer a little bit ago, like a month ago actually, and I've been meaning to get to it, and with our own travels and stuff, and yeah, I'm a little behind on it. So the question from Ryan anyway, do you have any suggestions for people in Nevada who are looking to be more of an urban nomad? What to do maybe when it's super hot out? Good question. And again, as we were talking earlier and in the last live stream, there is an increase in people ending up doing vehicle dwelling, whether on purpose or not. And sometimes you're not in places that are cool. And the truth is, unless you're somewhere like, I say this by reputation, I've never been there. San Diego supposedly is pretty nice year round. There aren't too many places that are nice year round. Most of the places you're going to be, if you're living in a vehicle or in a tent or anything else close to the land, you're going to be probably hot in the summer and cold in the winter. There's a few exceptions where you might not be hot in the summer, like Melanie tells me Alaska's quite nice in the summer. You can be in Quartzsite or Yuma, Arizona, where you might not be too cold in the winter, but we don't even want to talk about summer there. So yeah, most of the places you're gonna be cold in the winter and hot in the summer, and you'll be trying to deal with things to figure that out. So as far as what to do, like if you're in Nevada and what to do when it's hot out, a lot of Nevada, pretty much all of Nevada, can get cold in the winter too. Southern Nevada, like Phoenix, Pahrump, and Las Vegas don't get too cold, but they can get below freezing occasionally. And I have seen it snow in Pahrump a couple times. It didn't last. I mean, it was fun to go out and play in because it doesn't last, but it can get cold. The heat's the bigger thing in the summer there, though. And even I've been up in northern Nevada, Winnemucca, if I'm saying that right, and Elko, and boy, it's 90s, 100s in the summer, so it gets quite hot up there. So pretty much anywhere in Nevada is going to be hot. Wyoming, we're at 100 degrees. Hold on, let me turn this around so I can show you. Not that you doubt me, but look at this. This is a Prius, it doesn't lie. 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside today. It was only supposed to be in the 90s today, but it's hot. And this is our Labor Day heat wave. It happens literally almost every year, if not every year, here in Northeast Wyoming in general. It can be moderate before Labor Day and moderate after Labor Day. I don't know why I'm looking at Melanie. She doesn't know it's her first time being here. In the summer, what did my granddaughter warn you when you were on the way here?
Oh, that it was hot in the summer. Yeah, tell her it gets hot in the summer. So
she did. When the 9-year-old called one day as we were on our way back up here, you better tell Melanie it gets hot here in the summer. You tell her. So I handed the phone to Melanie, and that's the granddaughter number one. Told her, Melanie, it gets hot here in the summer and cold here in the winter. So it does. But Labor Day, for some reason, it can be hot, but not unbearable before Labor Day, after Labor Day. And it seems like, I'm not exaggerating, I think it's every year, the 8 years I've been here now. But for sure, almost every one, it gets crazy hot on Labor Day weekend. I don't know why. So we got like a week-long thing of like 100 degrees or nearly 100 degrees every day. So we're dealing with the heat too, and we just were traveling cross country and back in the summer, which I've actually don't think I've ever done before. Well, I've done it years ago in a car and stuff, and I just drive straight through. But as a Nomad, I usually try and do it in the fall when the weather's nicer. So there's no single easy answer to this conundrum. Because most anywhere you're going to be in the U.S., I mean, it's going to be too hot in the summer. And some places it's going to be hot and humid. Some it's going to be hot and dry, but just blazing sun, like the desert. And yeah, go to Alaska. But other than that, then you don't want to be there for the winter. So
Yeah.
other than that, there's no single easy answer. There are the usual heat suggestions like cool clothing, spray bottles and fans, etc., that we're not going to cover today in this video. I've done videos about it before. Maybe I'll do one again soon. And there's plenty of other resources like that on the internet. It's not that those things aren't helpful. We're also not going to talk about the things you can do, you might do if you're boondocking. We're not going to talk about wrapping your car in reflectix or space blankets, or wrapping your windshield with an outside cover, like a vinyl tablecloth, like I've done when I was boondocking. Looked like I was homeless, but it was 90-something degrees, almost 100 degrees in the desert. I had to do what I had to do to keep the van close to outside temperatures instead of literally like 120, which is what I was doing without all that stuff. So there's things you can get away with if you're boondocking that you can't really get away with urban. And that was the question specifically, was what if you're doing urban nomad stuff? So we're not covering all those things. They have a place and they'll help some people, but they're not so much helpful for urban stuff. Some of them might be, but we're trying to cover something vehicle-wise. So here's the things quick list we came up with talking about this earlier. Option one, and I don't mean to sound flippant here, but opt for a hybrid like the Toyota Prius that we're sitting in right now, because it has the camp mode where you can run air conditioning and it runs off the batteries and it turns the engine on for a few minutes now and again as needed. We used this quite a bit when we were traveling across the country. We were traveling in August out to Massachusetts and upstate New York and back, and we camped in the car. That was cozy, different story by itself, but we slept in the car most nights, except for when we were visiting family out east. And so yeah, we were able to leave the air conditioning on, car would start and recharge as necessary. So if you have the option to upgrade your vehicle or to make a purchase ahead of time, planning it, I would seriously consider a hybrid or even an EV, because you can have climate control, and that's kind of a big deal. That's going to make your life a lot easier if you can do it. So something to think about. Another option is quote unquote browse large stores or malls. We don't have any malls here in Gillette, Wyoming, but we do have some large stores like Home Depot, Menards, Walmart, and so on. And so we sometimes take our daily walks, which we try and do once or twice a day, indoors this way, because when it's 100 degrees, if we don't get up and have breakfast early enough, it's too hot to walk. So we're left with an evening walk. So sometimes we'll do a indoor walk at a mall, or not at a mall, excuse me, we don't have a mall. We'll do an indoor walk at a store. Like Menards. Yesterday, I think it was, we went to a Menards. It's sort of like a cross between Walmart and Home Depot if you don't have one.
Yeah.
So,
Kind of
what
like
do you
a
think?
hardware store. Yeah. Yeah, the big box stores have all the air conditioning and a lot of space, so take advantage of it, I guess, if you can.
Yeah, look at all the stuff you don't want to buy because you don't have room in your van. But hey, well, I think we did buy something. But anyways.
Yeah, we always do. That's the problem.
We always need something, yeah. One off the to-do list, shopping list. Another option that we actually utilize, visit a local rec center or gym or whatever the case may be. We have a county-run recreation center here in this town, and it's quite spacious. We have an indoor track, so we walk there. Then I often feel obliged to lift weights or something, and then I can't move for 3 or 4 days afterwards. But, you can work out while you're there. You can get a shower while you're there. Melanie says there's too many women in...
Well, just the time I went was
At least the time she
cold
tried the showers
water,
there,
so.
there were so many women in the ladies' room that there was no hot water. So maybe their water was broke, I don't know, but the men's room was hot. So anyway, we get showers there sometimes. We work out inside. And they have like tables and couches, and people just sit around and hang out sometimes, surf on their phone, visit with friends, whatever. So, it's air conditioned. So that kind of thing can be an option. Local community colleges. Our local community college here has an indoor track that is open to the public. Again, if you want to take a walk, Of course, it gives you an excuse to sit down and hang out a bit too. They also have commons areas with cafes, seating, Wi-Fi and air conditioning, etc. That may vary between facilities. That's how it is in Wyoming.
It's open to the public.
It might be different. It's open to the public. It might vary in other places. So you just call and check. Or if you're bold, just let yourself in and go into some public area and sit down. See if they ask you to leave. But anyway, if you don't create a scene, you're probably nobody's going to say anything to you.
Right.
Anyways, it's a public, I mean, it's a college. People are coming and going all the time. But, you know, that's the thing. They got air conditioning. They have good Wi-Fi. So that's an option. Now, I mean, I know that's not the same as hanging out in your own space in your van or whatever. But if it's hot, it can get you through. And sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. Another option, and this is one I've used many times, that's head to the hills if at all possible when free for a day or two. And when I said head to the hills, I mean just higher elevation. Whatever you can do for higher elevation, even if it's just for a few hours, if you're close enough. So I've done that oftentimes here in Wyoming in the summer. We're in the valley here where my kids are. It gets 80s, 90s, 100 plus here sometimes. Last summer we hit 106, 108. Fortunately, we have not been quite that bad this summer. We've been above 100 a few times now, but not quite as hot as last year. But yeah, you head to the hills, and there's we have mountains an hour or two distant, and it can be a lot cooler. When we were in Nevada, I know if you're in Las Vegas, for example, you head up to the Spring Mountains or Mount Charleston, a whole lot cooler. I know it can be crowded up there at certain times, but huge difference in temperature. We were in Pahrump this spring, and it was hot. I don't remember the exact temperature, but it was getting uncomfortably hot in the valley. We did a day trip just to see some sights, not to get temperature relief. And we went up into the Spring Mountains, kind of the backside of Mount Charleston. It was a 5,000 foot difference in elevation, and it was cold.
It was cold.
I mean,
we
were
snow
sweating
on the ground, so.
Yeah. Yeah, there was still snow on the ground, and we were sweating in the valleys in t-shirts. And I got a picture of her with a coat on up there. It was quite a temperature difference. So if you can head to the hills, I mean, even if it's overnight or just for a while, you know, it can make a difference. And also, depending if you're in cities, especially look for local cooling centers. They set those up where they might have just air conditioning available, cold water, sometimes misters, you know. So those can give you a chance to get a break at least, anyways, and make it a little more tolerable. The bottom line is, if you're somewhere that's hot or cold, and you're living in a vehicle, you're going to be uncomfortable. That's the truth. I don't want to misrepresent that to anybody. There's too much Instagram foolishness. You know, everything's perfect and hunky-dory and unicorns and rainbows and, you know. There's another side to that. To get those awesome moments, you also are going to be uncomfortable sometimes. That's just the way it is. So, but these are some ideas that can help you hopefully get through it and stay safe at least, and hopefully mitigate the miserable factor. What do you all think? What do you guys do if you've been in hot weather in a vehicle, especially if you're in an urban place where you can't, you know, wrap your car in Reflectix or something, or park in the shade? I mean, I know that park in the shade, that's always rated. I love that. Well, I was going to park in shade. Okay, first of all, try and find shade in a city, right? I mean, sometimes you can. Our local park, I'm always wondering, how do they design an entire city park with a loop that goes 360 and there's no shade where you can park anywhere? And it's true, like every local park we have, like there's literally no parking in the shade or just one or two spots, and that's limited to certain times a day. So a lot of times you can't park in the shade, or somebody's already parked in the shade. And then I have solar on the van. So if I'm in the van and I need power, well, I got to be parked in the sun so I have power. Melanie's got the Prius here, which, you know, was what Bob Wells of Cheap RV Living calls a generator on wheels. So that addresses some of those problems. So again, back to the hybrid or EV thing, it's something to think about if you got the budget to do it. And what are your suggestions about all this anyways? Let me know in the comments what you think, what you do, what you've done that works. My mother here saying, yep, those drop-offs are scary. For me, I white knuckle whatever is available. Yeah, it's some of that, and there's a lot of them out here where it's I don't see, maybe not. Maybe we don't have as many big mountains out east. Seems like they have better guardrails, but there's a lot of places out here in the west, I know for sure.
Trees.
And they have trees. Maybe that's what it is. You have trees to catch you.
Yeah.
You don't need guardrails, but there's a lot of places out here in the west. You're cruising along and there's this road, and you're like, yeah, it's hundreds or thousands of feet down, and there's no guardrail, and there's no shoulder, and it's like, you just better not miss, because It's invigorating. She says. I guess she likes that, invigorating. Oh, man. All right, I've run out of things to talk about, I think. Yep, I did. So that's the end of my notes. Unless any of you have questions or comments, things we should talk about while we're here. But it's legit 100 degrees here, so yeah, the whole staying cool in crazy weather is on our minds for sure. And interesting little park here with I've been by this a bunch of times and it never stopped. And then that's like some kind of a crane over there, you know. Some oil type stuff out there in the back. Ooh, boy, we're not focusing too good there. There we go. Okay. All right. Giant tires and drag link buckets and all that stuff. So anyway, I had never stopped. And Melanie, not being from here or anything, was like, what is that stuff? We should stop and check it out. So we did. And now we decided to bring you along and show you around here too. So Curtis is saying we don't need no stinking guardrail. I guess I've gotten used to it to the point it doesn't even faze me much anymore.
Right.
But I do remember years ago being like,
yeah.
what? There's no guardrail?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what if you drive off? And I guess you just don't drive off. But oh, man. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed seeing around here. Hope this was some interesting conversation. Anyways, I don't know. Was it interesting, Melanie?
Yeah, I think it was.
All right, she said it was interesting, so it was. All right, hope you all found this conversation interesting. Hope you enjoyed seeing around here some of this equipment. I thought it was quite interesting. Oh, man. Beth is saying when my son rolled his Tahoe off the road on a curve up in Coldbrook, New Hampshire, it got caught in trees, so it didn't land in the river below. He was unhurt. Well, I'm glad that he was not injured. That's got to be scary.
That's scary.
That's
Still,
scary.
if there's trees to catch it.
I like knowing about the trees catching you, I guess.
Yeah.
I used to be an EMT, and I went to many, many wrecks, and we were in a rural area, so most of our wrecks were single vehicle off the road. And yeah, some of those are tricky, just trying to get people out because you're on steep banks and into trees. But no, I'm glad he was all right, not hurt. But that's yeah, there's a lot of places out here where there just aren't guardrails or trees, and you're going for a ride if you go over. So no guardrails on a winding road. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's the thing. It just let alone if you blow a tire or anything like that, or a mechanical problem. It's just, or pitch an icy spot or a sandy spot. It's just a second of miscalculation, and boy. Anyway, yeah. So some of those roads are interesting, invigorating. Like the $1 Million Highway in Colorado. That's like, whew, that's a white knuckle one.
No, I've never been on that one.
Oh, well, we got to bring you.
Okay.
Queen Ray in Silverton. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Curtis has been up that road. I know he's been up it. But we went up it together, so. Then we got froze out in Silverton and had to go down to Durango. It was snowing and slushing and freezing rain and nasty. Nasty, nasty. All right, we didn't have a Prius with heat, so. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you in the next one. Curtis ain't even remembers that, so yeah. All right, we'll catch you in the next one.